Hi, this is a short video about my new homemade slot mortising machine. I'll show you how it works and I'll show you some of the cuts that can be made with it. The router's side-to-side motion and front-to-back motion is guided by two modified sets of keyboard drawer slides. All this is controlled by just the one lever to allow one-handed operation. Vertical motion is controlled by two brass bushings on this polished stainless steel rod. To move the router up and down, I turn a crank, which using a threaded rod, cranks the router up and down. I can also lock the vertical position in place by tightening this knob, although for most cuts I don't actually bother with that. It works just fine without. To keep the vertical crank from drifting, I've added this Detent Mechanism which gives me 6 clicks per turn. When making multiple mortise cuts, I need to keep track of exactly how many turns I've put on the crank for the precise spacing, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of how many turns I've already turned. So I've added this counter wheel here, which keeps a count of how many turns I've actually already put on here. Each increment of the wheel is 1/16 of an inch, and this scale here reflects how many turns I've put onto it. Half an inch. Two adjustable stops underneath the table control the side-to-side motion of the router, which sets the length of the mortise. These stops can be moved just by loosening the knob and then pushing them out. To control the depth of the mortises, there's a stop along the side, which is also adjustable. What you can't see very well is the actual drawer slides themselves. That's because I enclose them as much as possible to keep the router dust from gumming up the ball bearings. The jig is ideally suited for making dual tenon joints, but why limit yourself to two? So this one, and I had to actually look this up what to call it, would be a dual decouple mortise and tenon joint. I cut the tenons separately on my screw advanced box joint jig. And other than rounding the ends of the tenons, I've done no hand fitting of this joint at all. Notice how nicely it fits. To get one of these joints to fit really well, everything does really need to be within a few thou. These gaps between the slots here should be about a 1/4 inch or 250 thou. So if we check it with the caliper here, we can see that they're all within a few thou of where they're supposed to be.